Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're announcing yet another investment. I would like to call it an unprecedented investment, Ian and Steve, in improving our parks and in recreation. And in the last 4 years, we have invested over $18 million. But Congressman, that doesn't even include our latest ask. And I don't call it an earmark because we're not allowed to do that, right? So for the congressional directed spending, we've asked for $1 million for Johnny Briggs Field. And he joined us the other day for Larry Doby Day when we celebrated the 75th anniversary of a legend breaking the color barrier in the American League. So it's nearly $20 million investing in our parks. And today we're grateful to our federal friend and fighter, Congressman Bill Pascrell, the Washington Warrior, for this American Rescue Plan money so that we can improve 15 parks, our 2 pools, so that our youth have more than suitable places to play, places to swim. Look, we're all familiar with surrounding towns and counties. And we know that some of our families go to the surrounding towns and counties for the parks and for the pools. We don't want them to go anywhere but Paterson, especially with rising gas prices. Am I right, Assemblyman? Why would you want them to pay more at the pump and put more mileage on their vehicles? So this just goes beyond improving play spaces. It's also a quality of life issue. And if you're paying taxes in this city, you should receive those services, basic services like a clean park and a pool or pools. So at this time, I'm going to call forward our congressman, unless you want him to get a little situated. All right, you're on deck. Next at bat is our Assemblyman, Benjie E. Wimberly, who is a champion for children here in the city of Paterson. Go get him.
Good morning still, I believe. But I definitely would like to thank the congressman for these funds that are coming in, along with the mayor and the city council. As the mayor stated, our pools will service over 15,000 people this summer. And I often explain to people, Costello Pool and Riverside Vets Pool is the Seaside Heights and Ocean City for many of the kids in the city of Paterson, because they'll never get an opportunity to go down and stay a week at the shore or do any of those type things. The maintenance of our pools have been impeccable, but they have become very, very antiquated when it comes to the system. So the upgrades here will give us an opportunity to keep the pools open without interruption throughout the summer season up to Labor Day. And the work that's being done in the parks is something that I will say that I know alone as a school board member, our mayor was one of the people that fought for Larry Doby and got the extra funds we needed. And the fields that we have now will probably free up funds for us to increase the maintenance and the upkeep of the fields because of them being synthetic turf. So I thank you, Congressman. I thank you, Mayor. I thank the City Council. And this money is going to a very, very much needed projects in the City of Paterson that cover all 6 wards. And more importantly, it will cover 160,000 plus residents here in the City of Paterson. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I failed to mention this also includes the tennis courts. There's a basketball court here as well. The field we're standing on, Totowa Oval. I've played on this field, or at least tried to play on this field. I was on the bench on this field. Wiffle ball. That was over there, not on the field. So we owe it to our youth. And I'm going to be Buck Showalter. Congressman, you'll be hitting cleanup in this lineup. And the Assemblyman mentioned it. We can't do this without the council. We presented this $5.7 million plan, and we needed their approval. And someone who has been steadfast in supporting our efforts to improve our parks, playgrounds, basketball, and tennis courts is none other than Councilman Louis A. Velez. Councilman, please. Action. What is the A for? Tell them.
Action. I have a case. First of all, on behalf of the council, on behalf of President of the Council and Councilman Abdulaziz, and also former Councilman Flavio Rivera was chair.
That's true.
I'm moving forward. We 9 council members, the community has spoken through us. You deliver, Mayor. That's what we do. And it's hard to get, and the congressman will understand this because he got the experience. It's hard to get 9 members to understand where we could utilize the money in the proper way. And everything starts in reading and discoveries. And that's why we could sit down and say, Mayor, let's work together to make sure if our parks are good, we get good music like every morning I get. We get more people involved in our city, and we will have more residents seeing that the funding, the grants, money is well invested in the city of Paterson. That's what we want. So this is the beginning. Hopefully, President Biden and through the Congress understand that we need more funding without the recessions coming down, but we know we could do better. So thank you. And behalf of Director Billy Rodriguez, he say thank you also. Me as the committee chair of DPW, my job is to make sure that everything that they put on the table is going to work and is going to work. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, the community.
Thank you. Also want to note that the councilman is also the chairman of the DPW committee, which recreation falls under as a division, but hopefully we'll have a department of Parks and Recreation. We're ready for that. We are ready for that. I was thinking about something, Congressman. Sorry, I don't want to delay. When I said I tried to play on this field, I really meant that. I think I had a tryout with the Rotary team. Remember Rotary? I didn't make it. So, yes, I'm a politician who's telling the truth right now. I tried out, didn't make it. I got cut. Remember calling my mother and saying I got cut. She said, where? She didn't understand the concept. It's true. She's from Syria. Tim Mungo likes that one. All right, nevertheless, no one corrected, or not necessarily corrected me, but I didn't even mention that Hinchliffe Stadium is another investment, and we didn't. And the Assemblyman fought hard with his delegation, Congressman. So that's another 20 million plus. No, now it's more than that. But nevertheless, another investment, unprecedented investment in our parks. But this couldn't be made possible without our congressman, who's always advocated for his hometown. People thought when he got elected to Congress in 1996 he was going to move out. They brought flowers to his house. And he tried to tell them, no, he's a lifelong Patersonian. He's not going anywhere. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope they're not throwing you out of the neighborhood. I'm not going to give everybody your address, but we know where you live. Nevertheless, here's a guy who probably played here at the Totowa Oval. Didn't try, probably played. It was his home field. I knew it. There you go. Probably had a couple big flies while he's up at bat. Did you go yard when you were here? Or? Fourth. There you go. Cleanup hitter. So, ladies and gentlemen, needing no introduction, batting fourth in our lineup, literally, Congressman Bill Pascrell. Nice suit. It's a Mets suit, baby.
This is not a
Mets suit.
This is not a Mets suit.
What do you mean? It's a Mets blue, not Yankee blue.
I want to thank all the media for showing here today. It's an important day. This legislation was passed March 11, 2001. This was the first big piece of legislation besides the COVID stuff when Biden became the president. So on March the 11th, we passed the rescue plan. In the rescue plan was money for the towns all over the United States of America. We insisted on it, particularly the delegation in New Jersey. We insisted on it. And every town in the 9th District has done very, very well with this plan. And I think that's important to know. This is not just for Paterson. They had legislation passed that included every town, whether it was a Republican mayor or a Democratic mayor, did not mean a thing. Although many people took credit for this that voted no or didn't vote. And that's the nature of the business that we're in. You either do it for all the people or sit on your hands. You have a choice. And I don't like to sit on my hands. So this is important. So Paterson totally got $63 million. Passaic and Clifton, as well as every other town, did well because of the populations of their town. That's how it was calculated. But everybody got something that was fairly distributed. 5.7 million have been set aside in Paterson for our parks. And God knows they need them. I want to tell you a very quick story when I was the mayor. Second week I'm the mayor. Third week. I want to leave the city hall, go over and get a cup of coffee on Broadway. And there wasn't a place on Broadway where you couldn't get a good cup of coffee. So I went to the cafeteria. It wasn't called the cafeteria. It was a little diner. 777. And I sat at one end, and there was a gentleman at the other end who I recognized who was from the Second Ward of Paterson. He was always a supporter, whatever I tried to do in the town, be it political, non-political. And he said, "Mayor, can I talk to you when you're finished your coffee?" I said, "Sure." So I'm walking out, and I'm finished with my coffee. He calls me over. I asked him how he was, his family. He did the same. He said, "Mayor, you're doing a great job in a very short period of time." And then his head looked in my eyes. And we all know about these things. We don't talk about them. That's what Senator Bradley said. We don't talk about the real stuff. And he said to me, "I know you started on one of the commitments you made during the campaign. That was parks." I said, "Yeah." I said, "We got to do a big job on this because all the parks stink right now. They're terrible." And he looked at me and he said, "Don't forget us." Now, you don't live in Paterson, mostly. But I knew exactly what he meant. Because at that time, I knew what the worst parks were. I mean, you didn't have to be a mental wizard to figure that out. At that time, we were starting on the worst parks. And the worst parks were not in Hillcrest. You follow me? Now, here's a man didn't have a prejudiced bone in his body, not that I knew of. And he's telling me as I'm walking out, "Don't forget us." We cannot do these things by eliminating anybody and thinking that, well, this is where it's mostly needed, so the other folks don't need anything. That brings us to another place, and we don't want to be there. So here we are on a day where unemployment is at a record low. Wages are up 5%, I understand. We've added over 8.7 million jobs in the country in the year and a half he's been the president and the Congress that voted for it. And it didn't happen by accident. It did not fall out of the sky. You know what that comes to? That comes to close to over 400,000 jobs a month. That's never been done before, ever. And people do not understand, and I don't think we've done a very good job of communicating what was done in Washington. I made a commitment when I first ran in 1996. These are the things I'm going to do. Go back to that place. I'm trying to keep my commitments. That's what you should do. Politicians are not famous for keeping their commitments, obviously. They're trying to keep the commitments. So we provided a fresh round of stimulus checks, if you remember. No, you don't remember. That's the problem. In the worst environment, including economic environment, a year and a half ago, that's what we did. The big impact in our own communities was the state and local aid. And I'm so happy that the New Jersey delegation slept together and insisted on it. Our cities were bled into bankruptcy. Not one of my Republican colleagues saw fit to vote for the priorities. Not one. When all is said and done, New Jersey is going to receive over $10 billion of federal money paid by the taxpayers of this country. In the 9th district that I am honored to serve, the 9th district will get approximately $175 million. And $5.7 million is for Paterson. Of that $63.7 million, which is earmarked for Paterson, the money ensures our city can invest in our parks and keep services going that we rely on every day. Let's make it clear. Those services would not have been continued, period. Our town schools got nearly $342 million, $159 million for Paterson alone. These dollars helped reopen our schools, changed the lives of a generation of kids. And we're pleased to announce that the Paterson Council approved $5.7 million, you heard Louis talk about it, of federal funds to improve the 15 local parks. I don't know if you've had a program like that before, Mayor. No. This is critical because, again, sometimes parks fall in disrepair. In fact, when I raised my hand to be elected to the City of Paterson as mayor, we marched up to Roberto Clemente Park and took it back from the drug dealers on that day and fixed it up so people could go there and be safe. These funds will be used to provide new turf. It'll revitalize our parks. Going to repair a lot of fences. It's going to rehab basketball courts and the playgrounds for our children. And we take it for granted in other communities. We don't take it for granted in Paterson. These are worthy projects. Think about all the kids' lives would be improved. And with Paterson receiving our second tranche of funding, I expect more good things on the horizon. The mayor's going to tell you, every federal dollar that comes into this city, I personally monitor. I want to know where it's going to be spent, and it's going to be spent in the right way. We have to be credible, or we deserve nothing if we're not credible. The American Rescue Plan was a rejection of the dogma that only government by starvation works. It is proof positive that the government can and will do positive good in our lives. So from Paterson, $63 million in the 9th District, to little old Teterboro, $6,680, or South Hackensack, $239,000, or Rutherford, $1.7 million, or Englewood, $2.7 million. And the New Jersey money that we had federal money that we had in terms of our schools, they received an estimated in the 9th District of $341,000. Paterson got $159,000. And I'm watching the Board of Ed, how they spend that money. Clifton, $27 million. Passaic, $63 million. Kearney, $12 million. Ridgefield Park, $2,535,000. Saddlebrook, $1.3 million. Englewood Cliffs, $457,000. Cresco, they've had a whole high school wiped out on the floods, $487,000. Of course, we did some extra work there because those kids had to go back to school. So you can look at all the key provisions of the rescue plan. Stimulus checks, unemployment insurance, family assistance, child care, cut child poverty by at least 40 to 45%. And then they wouldn't renew it. It worked right in front of their face and they didn't renew it. Pension plans. The president was out in Cleveland just yesterday talking about pensions. Instead of collapsing, we propped them up. student loan forgiveness tax relief, money for school reopening and higher education, state and local aid, the Affordable Care Act coverage, and COVID, and fighting that. Grants for firefighters, vaccines, public health, resources for families. I go down the list. American Rescue Plan, that's what it was called. And you wonder, when we went through all of this, the unemployment rate is the lowest it's been in God knows when. But we're talking about over 400,000 jobs a month on average. Lowest unemployment rate that anyone can remember. It's a long time ago that happened. So, Mayor, I tried to do what we said we were going to do. This is not money out of the sky. This is our tax money. We think more of it should be returned to the states like New Jersey, where we have dense population. So this is a great day today. I look forward to working with the mayor, with the council. We have a long ways to go, but we're going to do this. And if anybody has any questions about the money, I'll be here. I'm going to be here. They just asked me about it. It's a great day for Paterson, not just for our parks. This extends throughout the whole community. So thank you for coming here today. You, please, have to educate people from us. And if we don't do the job, you can't do your job. Educate the people as to what we passed and how it helps and affects them. So thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here today. Thank you.
Again, I want to express our profound gratitude to the Congressman for his advocacy and for delivering the American Rescue Plan money to our city. You elaborated on the $63 million. Actually, got closer to $64 million. We're stretching it. We've paid employees premium pay for putting themselves in harm's way during the pandemic, so some of that money was earmarked for those individuals. We've also devoted or dedicated $2 million to the Great Falls Visitor Center, named for Alexander Hamilton. Yes, we have money for mental health, something I want to elaborate on, and I think the Assemblyman would appreciate it. When a police officer gets a call about an emotionally disturbed person, we'd like to have mental health clinicians accompany him or her on that call for service. So we're going to have money earmarked for that purpose. Also for violence interruption. This Monday we'll be making that announcement relative to the bill that you sponsored in the Assembly, reforming bail reform. There'll be money for violence interruption as well. And then the biggest piece of that $64 million, a recreation center. We want a recreation center in Paterson. We're going to make it happen, and we're going to use American Rescue Plan money for it. So thank you, everyone, for this announcement of the unprecedented investment in our parks, playgrounds, courts, and other play spaces, not to mention pools. Thank you, everyone.